Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about lateral hip strength. It's super important for two reasons. Firstly, if you've got a weak lateral hip, it allows too much movement of your femur when your foot hits the floor. That allows a torsional movement, which we call a valgus movement, that goes through the knee, and it can lead to things like meniscal problems or ACL problems. It can even cause foot and ankle problems if you've got a weak lateral hip. Going up the chain, if you've got a weak hip, it allows too much pelvic movement in the frontal plane, the side-to-side plane of motion, and then that can cause a lot of compression into the lumbar joints, the lower back joints. So having a strong lateral hip, it helps stabilize the leg going down the chain, it helps stabilize the pelvis, which helps protect the lower back. So today I'm going to show you my 5 favorite exercises to keep this area nice and strong. First exercise, super simple. I throw this into most of my warm-ups for any sort of exercise, to be honest. Stand side onto a wall and just brush my hip to the wall. You've got to be in complete control, that's the rule. So you can't fall onto the wall and jump back. You've got to be able to just brush the wall and then back, and then as you feel that you're warming up, you can just take your feet further and further away from the wall. Do 10 to 20 reps so it feels a light burn, and then switch sides. Okay, exercise number 2 is what I call the curtsey. So imagine there's a button straight out to the side, and you're going to try and brush that button with one foot, the foot going behind the standing leg. Now, this is getting your foot and ankle nice and strong and stable on the floor. It's really loading that lateral hip as you reach across, and this hip is going into adduction. And we're also having to use our core muscles to stabilize the spine and the pelvis at the same time. So it's a nice movement that integrates this whole chain. If you want to make it harder, you just pick up a light weight. I've only got 2.5 pounds here, and reaching over just helps have to load this core. We're getting an eccentric load through these abs that helps stabilize the pelvis while your glute medius is firing, and it's just has that extra little bit of balance to it as well. Exercise number 3, you're going to need a mini resistance band. I'll link in the description below to the ones I use. You just need to put the band just above your knees, and then set your feet in a position where there is already some resistance on the band. And here we're just going to do bouncing squats, but at the bottom of each squat, drive your knees out into the band so you're adding to that resistance. I like to do as many reps as I need to feel a real burn in the lateral hips. What that does, the feeling of a burn, is it sends a huge amount of neurological proprioceptive feedback up to the brain. So it's waking the brain up to these lateral hip muscles, because remember, strength is partly what the muscles are doing, but it's also partly the brain's ability to control those muscles. So that burning feeling is waking the brain up as well. Exercise number 4 is what I call the fire hydrant. I want you to imagine a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. So we're going to start in this tabletop position, set the back into a neutral position, and then slowly take the knee to the outside using the lateral hip muscles. So what I want you to focus on is not letting your spine rotate. This should be a hip abduction and external rotation, so it's just a hip. I'd much rather you're not lifting the knee very high, rather than lifting the knee really high, but all of the movement coming from your spine and the other hip. So there are 2 things you can do. One is you could either just pretend there's a torch coming out your belly button and shine the torch straight down so the torch isn't allowed to deviate to the side. Or to really make sure your back isn't twisting, you can take a weight or a plate of some kind, put it onto your lower back, and then not let the weight slide off to the side. If the weight slides off to the side, you know you're doing it wrong, and that helps create the stability in your core while you're activating the lateral hip. Finally, we're using a movement that integrates your lateral hip strength with your core, which will really help stabilize the lumbar spine. So go into a side plank. The easiest side plank is where you bend the bottom knee. So the bottom knee is at 90 degrees, and here to activate the lateral hip, we're going to go into an eccentric load where the muscle gets longer by dropping the hip down towards the floor and then squeezing back up again. I like to put my fingers on my obliques here just to feel that the obliques are firing. You can feel the lateral hip firing. I like to do 10 reps where I drop the hips to the floor 10 times and then do a 10-second hold, trying to feel that these muscles are really activated. If that feels too easy, just go straight onto a full body with the bottom leg behind, the bottom foot behind, and same again. We're just going to do these 10 reps with a 10-second hold at the top. So guys, I hope you found those 5 exercises helpful. If you did, give the video a little thumbs up below. Having a strong lateral hip really helps your knee and your foot and ankle mechanics, and going up the chain, it stabilises the pelvis so you don't keep gnawing up your lower back. Today we were looking after your hips, but if you want to look after your shoulders, check out my favourite shoulder exercise, which is just to hang from a bar. And until next time, have a healthy week.